Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Deadline day drama didn't disappoint in North London. Tottenham were right in the thick of it, sealing a major attacking boost, waving goodbye to familiar faces, and leaving just enough uncertainty to keep fans on edge. But while the Premier League window slammed shut, the story for Spurs might not be over just yet. Tottenham were active on the final day of the transfer window after getting a few deals over the line. Spurs' main bit of business saw them strengthen their attack with Randall Kolo Muani joining on a season-long loan deal from PSG. The North London club had tried to sign the French international back in January, but ultimately lost out to Juventus at the time. Outgoings also took place on deadline day as Bryan Gil bid farewell after 4 years in N17 as he linked up with Girona on a permanent basis. Manus Solomon also headed for Spain, joining Villarreal on a season-long loan deal after a late switch to Crystal Palace fell through. Despite the Premier League transfer window closing for business on Monday evening, we could still see a couple of transfer deals involving Tottenham take place. This is because the transfer window is still open in a number of different countries. For example, according to FIFA, the Dutch transfer window does not close until Tuesday, September 2nd. Belgium is Monday, September 8th. Clubs in Greece, Turkey and Switzerland have until Friday, September 12th, and the Saudi Pro League is Tuesday, September 23rd. Yves Bissouma could potentially still depart Tottenham Hotspur Stadium over the coming days. Galatasaray were last week in talks with Tottenham over a deal for Bissouma, but a move did not come to fruition before the 7 p.m. Premier League deadline on Monday. There is still time for Bissouma to head to Turkey, with the window closing there on Friday, September 12th. Tottenham really could do with moving the midfielder on, as he is now in the final year of his contract in £17. Dane Scarlett still remains a Tottenham player, despite the striker looking a certainty to depart on loan. The academy graduate was not part of Tottenham's squad for their pre-season tour of Asia, so he could explore a loan move elsewhere. Alfie Devine was in a similar boat last season, when he looked on course to remain at Tottenham beyond the closure of the transfer window until the club struck a loan agreement with Belgian side Westerlo in early September. Belgian clubs have until Monday, September 8th, to complete any remaining deals if any side is keen on signing Scarlett. Matthew Craig is another Tottenham youngster who has yet to secure a move for the new season. After his loan success at Doncaster Rovers in the 2023/24 campaign, last season did not go as planned for the 22-year-old after falling out of favour at Barnsley and then seeing his time at Mansfield Town disrupted by injury. Craig is so far down the midfield pecking order at Tottenham that he requires a move away for the sake of his career. The 18-year-old Croatian joined Spurs this summer after a long-anticipated transfer from Hajduk Split. But with Romero and Van de Ven dominating at centre-back, he's decided regular football in the Bundesliga is the best path for his development. Luka Vuskovic has admitted that he found it difficult to play at the level of Tottenham players like Christian Romero and Mickey van de Ven, so decided to head out on loan to Hamburg in a bid to improve. The 18-year-old centre-back arrived at Spurs this summer from Hajduk Split and grabbed a goal and assist in his first pre-season friendly against Reading under new head coach Thomas Frank. As pre-season wore on, the new Tottenham boss decided that the teenage Croatian would benefit from a loan move if he wanted it. Vuskovic has admitted, after making the move to Hamburg, where his brother Mario has played, that he had to make the move to the Bundesliga as he did not feel ready for Tottenham's level just yet. Yes, they offered me an option to stay, to play in case of injury or cup matches, but I wanted continuous minutes, the defender said in an interview with Germanijack. They have Romero and Van de Ven playing there, two of the best centre-backs in the world at the moment. I believe in myself, but it's really difficult to play next to them. I've faced them and I realise that I still have to work harder. A lot of work and a little luck, so I'll be back. He explained why he made the move to Tottenham this summer, after agreeing the transfer 2 years ago, despite competition for his signature from Manchester City. I didn't want to be just a number. At Tottenham, you told me what they expected and offered in terms of sport, and that prevailed. The plan they put before me, said the centre-back. On his move to Hamburg, Vuskovic is looking forward to his third loan in as many years, after spells at Radomiak in Poland and Westerlo in Belgium. I was hoping for such an outcome. I really wanted HSV, a big club, a beautiful city with an army of fans, he said. My brother was there, and that's why it was even more important to me. I was at the qualifiers with Ulm, I felt the atmosphere, and especially when they chanted for my brother, they brought me here for life. Nothing is guaranteed. I don't have a guaranteed spot. I'll play if I'm good in training, if the coach thinks I am. If I'm not, I won't play. The 26-year-old forward joins Thomas Frank's side on a season-long deal after a move to Juventus collapsed, with Spurs needing more firepower following Son's exit and Solanke's injury concerns. Kolo Muani adds depth and versatility to the attack. Tottenham have confirmed the loan signing of Randall Kolo Muani from Paris Saint-Germain. The French international joins Thomas Frank's side on a season-long deal after a permanent move to Juventus never came to fruition. Kolo Muani was a player of interest to Tottenham in January, but it was the Serie A side who instead won the race for his signature on loan. A permanent switch this summer collapsed, however, and that allowed Tottenham to nip in and wrap up a deal for the 26-year-old. The agreement between Tottenham and Paris Saint-Germain does not contain an option or obligation to buy the attacker next summer. Providing he is registered in Spurs' Champions League squad, Kolo Muani will be able to face his parent club in Europe's premier competition when they meet in the league phase on Wednesday, November 26th. The addition of the Bondi-born ace boosts Frank's team for the 2025/26 campaign and gives him more options in the final third. Kolo Muani is a striker by trade, but he can also play on either wing. That in turn will help Spurs out as they have yet to replace Son Heung-min, following his transfer to LAFC last month. Dominic Solanke missed last Saturday's defeat to Bournemouth with an ankle injury, and Kolo Muani will now give Frank another option up front, along with Richarlison and Mathys Tel. The new signing's first appearance in a Tottenham shirt could come directly after the international break, when they travel to West Ham on Saturday, September 13th. Fellow new signing Xavi Simons may also be in line for his debut that evening at the London Stadium after last week completing his £51.8 million move from RB Leipzig. Dominic Solanke has sent a message on social media after being left out of Tottenham's matchday squad to face his former club Bournemouth with plenty of injury speculation. Following that, the 27-year-old has been carefully managed during the first few games of the 2025/26 season, after missing the majority of pre-season with an injury. The form of Richarlison has helped his absence become less noticeable, but Spurs certainly could have done with their club record signing on Saturday afternoon. In the following 48 hours, a number of injury verdicts have been shared, with some suggesting that Solanke may require surgery. It has been claimed elsewhere, however, that he has had an injection to settle down the issue, but the expectation is he will not be out for a lengthy period. Despite that, the Lilywhites have added a new versatile forward to their ranks, with Randall Kolo Muani joining on a season-long loan from Paris Saint-Germain. A second signing in attack was considered by Spurs, but another significant deadline day deal hasn't been agreed. Exits have been sanctioned, however, with it looking as though Manor Solomon will join Crystal Palace, while Bryan Gil is heading back to Girona. While transfer news has been the focus today, Solanke has delivered a subtle update via Instagram on the injury that has been plaguing him for a month. The photo shows Solanke in the Hotspur Way gym, leaning on a bar that has been placed on a squat rack. It is likely he is doing an overhead shoulder press or squats, which suggests, as he can weight bear, the injury is not too serious. Kolo Muani, who is predominantly a centre forward, being signed does however suggest there are concerns over his fitness. With that being said, Richarlison has also been plagued by muscle issues, which is likely another reason for the loan deal being sanctioned. The Frenchman, 26, can also provide adequate cover off the left, with Champions League experience and depth in attack somewhat of a necessity for Frank Kolo. Muani looks set to rejoin Juventus after a successful 6-month loan spell earlier this year, in which he scored 10 goals scored across 22 appearances. He has played 23 games in the Champions League and has found the back of the net 73 times at senior level. Deadline day is here, and Tottenham Hotspur are set for a frantic finish. Spurs have already made big moves this summer with the arrivals of Xavi Simons, Mohamed Kudus, Joao Palhinha and more, but the squad is far from complete. Thomas Frank still wants a winger and a centre-back before 7 p.m, with Ademola Lookman strongly linked and Savinho ruled out. Outgoings could be just as busy too, with Yves Bissouma, Bryan Gil, Dane Scarlett and Manor Solomon all facing uncertain futures. Will Spurs pull off a late blockbuster signing, or lose key names before the window slams shut? Transfer deadline day is finally here. It has been a very interesting summer window for Tottenham Hotspur, with plenty of frustration and also a couple of wins in the transfer market. Heading into the final day of the window, Spurs have so far turned Kevin Danso and Mathys Tell's loan deals into permanent moves. Luka Vuskovic finally made the switch from Hajduk Split. Joao Palhinha joined on loan from Bayern Munich, and Kota Takai, Mohamed Kudus and Xavi Simons secured permanent moves to NE17. Johan Langer still has plenty of work to do on deadline day, with the window closing for business until January at 7 p.m. this evening. As important as incomings are to bolster Thomas Frank's numbers, outgoings are also needed as part of a squad refresh for the 2025/26 season. So what deals could Tottenham look to complete in the last few hours of transfer deadline day? Football.London takes a look below. Tottenham have yet to bring in a new winger to take Son Heung-min's place in the squad, and that needs to happen on deadline day. Manchester City ace Savinho was heavily linked with a move to Spurs, but it would appear that he will be remaining at the Etihad Stadium. The Manchester Evening News reported on Thursday that City have ruled out selling the Brazilian. Ademola Lookman of Atalanta has been mentioned in regards to a late switch to Tottenham, as he looks to depart the Italian side before this evening's cut-off point. Bayern Munich are also keen on the 27-year-old with a possible loan deal mooted, and Spurs will have to get one over their German counterparts if they are to secure the signing of the former Premier League winger. Tottenham also require a new centre-back before 7 p.m, although a new winger features higher up on the priority list right now. It is still a position Spurs have to try and strengthen. However, Frank wants cover at centre-back due to the amount of games Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven missed last season, with Radu Dragusin still in the treatment room prior to his return to training very soon. The loan departure of Vuskovic to Hamburg has reduced Tottenham's options even further in the position. Dane Scarlett will be hoping to get his loan move away from the club in the final few hours of the transfer window. The striker was left out of Tottenham's pre-season tour squad to explore a loan deal, but a move hasn't quite happened for him yet. He needs to be playing every week, and the hope will be that the academy graduate can secure a switch elsewhere before time runs out. Bryan Gil clearly does not have a future. At Tottenham, having missed out on a squad number for the new season. The Spaniard is currently working his way back to fitness from a knee injury, and that could potentially impact a possible move, given it's not clear yet when he will be fit to return to the pitch. Tottenham really cannot afford for that to be the case due to his contract status. Yves Bissouma will feature in the headlines on deadline day. The Mali international has dropped down the Tottenham midfield pecking order this summer following the arrival of Palhinha, and it could result in a late exit. Like Gil, Bissouma's current contract expires next summer, and the club really need to part with him this window to ensure his value does not drop too much. Tottenham were last week in discussions with Galatasaray over a loan deal, but the midfielder remains a Spurs player for now. Manor Solomon was in Frank's Tottenham squad for the first time last weekend after a frustrating summer through injury. The winger gave the head coach an extra attacking option, but he remained on the bench despite Spurs needing a goal against Bournemouth. The 26-year-old is going to find regular minutes hard to come by at Tottenham, and that could pave the way for a late exit on Monday. Solomon will only drop a place in the pecking order if a new winger comes in. As certain as the passing of the seasons and the sun and moon rising in the sky is the fact that Tottenham will lose before an international break. Spurs might have put in 3 impressive performances, starting the Premier League season with 5 goals and 2 clean sheets, including a win at the Etihad Stadium. But just whisper in someone's ear that it's time for international football, and the North London club will crumble. Tottenham have now lost their past 7 Premier League games on the match day, before an international break. It never used to be that way. They had gone unbeaten in the previous 13. Before that, winning 10 of those, but something shifted a couple of years ago. Perhaps it's just coincidence, perhaps players are mindful of getting injured, or perhaps they just lack the ability to focus on the present. Either way, this was a dismal affair, reminiscent of much of what was served up in the Premier League last season with Spurs, as open to counter-attacks as they were back then, despite Thomas Frank's new defensive structure. And that's what annoyed him even more than the lack of creativity. We clearly didn't perform well today. We played against a very good Bournemouth team that we know can make it difficult for any team in the league, Frank told Football.London. They played to their strengths. They did that very well, and we didn't handle it well. We knew exactly what they came with, and we trained for it. We just didn't handle it well enough in terms of the balls in behind, the second balls, duels in the middle of the park. That's the defensive side, and on the offensive side we struggled to find good enough solutions to get through phase 1 and 2, so we could get up there and put a bit of pressure on them. We only did that in the last 15 where we put on good pressure, and could have equalised. I think over the game it was fair that Bournemouth won. Tottenham were missing that bit of magic, and the man who can provide that was only able to step onto the pitch to say hello to the fans inside his new home. Xavi Simons, Spurs' new £52 million signing, who put pen to paper on a 5-year contract with an option for another 2, came out onto the turf 5 minutes before the supporters had been told, catching out a few who hadn't reached their seats yet. He waved and applauded all the stands and showed off his phone goal celebration, which came about because he was always ringing his brother when he first moved to PSG, and they decided on it while playing FIFA together and saw a similar celebration. Spurs could have done with Xavi being signed before the Friday deadline, and having magically been awarded his work permit in record time. For everything that the 22-year-old Dutchman brings to the table was needed against the Cherries. Sometimes you need a player that can do something, clicks his fingers, a little bit out of nothing, go past the player, produce a cross, a shot, a pass, with that extra quality that you need on the day, and that's what I think he can bring, said Frank of his new signing. Xavi's arrival certainly brought a buzz inside Hotspur way, on the day he was being signed, with players excited about the transfer, and some asking staff whether it was done yet at points around training. For the Barcelona product is a statement signing, and he's got all the elements to become a star in this Tottenham side. The club shop on Saturday had so many fans looking to get number 7 shirts with his name on it that the wait for printing reached more than an hour at one point. The youngster watched the game from a box in the West Stand, complete with a big entourage which will no doubt slim down as he settles in. He was taken down inside the stadium with about 10 minutes to go of the match. The problem with Sunday's defeat is that it showed how Spurs can be without creativity, and with the running and pressing game below what was required. They had 61.4% of the possession, but an XG of just 0.17 compared to Bournemouth's 1.45. In simpler terms, the visitors had 20 shots to Tottenham's 5, in their own backyard. So what happens if Xavi misses matches against teams that are tougher to break down and double up on the wide men? Spurs' original plan was to sign Morgan Gibbs-White to compete with and play alongside James Maddison, only for the latter to suffer that ACL injury and ruled out for much of the campaign. So it is risky to go into a busy campaign with just Xavi as a true number 10, although he can also play down the left, and Mur